Hello everybody. Just a quick preface for this video. This is an album review that I did a couple of months back but never put it up. It's one with my brother, and it was supposed to be a series of a couple of albums that we were going to talk about from 2017 since he is a metalhead, and I featured a couple of those in my top 50. Unfortunately, we didn't get the time to do so, so I'm throwing this in for today, for this week, because of another quick thing which I'll talk about at the end of this video. But anyways, I hope you enjoy my dive into this album with my brother, and I'll see you in a little bit for a quick post-credit thing. Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of Are You In? And I have a special guest today. This is my brother Ryan. Say hi everybody. Now he is the I'll say metal expert when it comes to the family.
Fair enough.
I more listen to a lot more other stuff, but he usually lets me know about all these other progressive bands that are coming out or albums that are coming out, and we're just gonna take a look at some of them, especially the ones from my top 50 from this year. And the one that we're gonna be looking at today is Leprous and their latest album, Malina. Now, Ryan, you know a little bit more about Leprous than I do, so.
So my introduction with this band came via their third album, which was released in 2015, I believe, called The Congregation. They are a progressive metal band that dabbles in the extreme metal genre. Mm-hmm. Now, when I say extreme, it doesn't have to be harsh vocals. Extreme metal is more about alternative time signatures, much like progressive metal, but they do it in like 4/6/4s instead of like your usual progressive Dream Theater kind of style.
I see. And definitely what I remember from The Congregation, it does have a little bit more of that art style that we now see in this newest album.
Yeah, The Congregation's definitely a heavier album, mm-hmm. But there are signs from this album where we could see that this is going to be the outcome, because The Congregation was more focused on Einard's vocal range, which showed off his very unique and powerful voice.
I'm glad that you're trying his name, because I'm not going to go with that. But they have had, like my brother said, they have had 3 albums before this. And this one dropped mid-2017, I want to say.
Yeah, I believe so.
And you, from the get-go, you're like, dude, you need to listen to this. Dude, you need to listen to this. Like, come on, you got to listen to this.
I did. I've been playing this band since 2015 with The Congregation, but I don't know if it took them all to kind of get into it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that I actually got to listen to it, because it is a phenomenal album.
Now, for any of you who are actually metal fans, right, this band is the one that has played with Isan at his live shows. Now, if any of you know who Isan is, and if you know who any of you guys know death metal or progressive death metal, he was the lead singer and the founder of the band Emperor. So this was his backing band, a lot of his live performances for his solo work. So they already have an established name in the field, but now they're kind of getting more recognition based on their own solo stuff.
Yeah, they're going to be playing in Boston with some 2 somewhat bigger bands, mm-hmm. between the Buried and Me and Deer Hunter.
Yeah.
And it's going to be an awesome show.
Should be. I'm very excited for it.
Now, I mean, this is definitely a show where I do a lot of different genres, so
okay.
For those who aren't into the field, what would you consider progressive metal?
Progressive metal depends on what kind of progressive metal you're looking for. There's different variations. There's progressive death metal. There's progressive technical metal. I mean, depends on what you're looking for.
But I guess where does that term progressive come in? What makes it death metal different than progressive death metal?
Well, progressive metal, it all started more as progressive rock back in the 70s with bands like King Crimson and bands like Rush. It's those unique time signatures that you wouldn't really think would be in like a mainstream song. Mm-hmm. So they're always pushing the boundaries, trying to find what sound is going to push, like I said, push the boundary. Mm-hmm. And definitely going to be your long, your longer songs, your longer guitar solos. Some people have said it's endless noodling for the sake of showing off your talent, aka Dream Theater, sorry with the astonishing. But progressive metal is just that. It's progressive. It's pushing the boundary outside of the norm.
Nice. Well said. But let's get back to our topic of the day, which is Malina. And when I first listened to it, my first thoughts about it, first off, it wasn't anything like I ever listened to before. It felt new. It felt interesting. From Bonneville all the way to the last milestone, each particular song to me has its own characteristics, its own body of to me it's not 11, 12 songs that are meshed together. It's 12 songs that have their own kind of world, if that makes sense.
I can agree with that. The first thing that struck me when I listened to this album was it was a complete departure from the Congregation. Those heavy riffs were all but gone. They went a very minimalist route with this album, and like they did with the Congregation, this album had more of an emphasis on Einar's voice, because some of these songs you listen to, his range is just absolutely mind-boggling. The notes he can hit, and a lot of this music is minimal. It sets an atmosphere and allows for him to carry the melody with his voice and add to that atmosphere.
You might have a different comparison, but for me, I've always stated that his voice reminds me of a mixture of the lead singer of Chevelle and the lead singer of Two Door Cinema Club, and the idea that when he uses his chest words, when he uses his strength, he sounds a lot like the lead singer of Chevelle, whereas his falsetto can be powerful, but could also be really understated, just like the falsetto of the guy from Two Door Cinema Club.
I have a different comparison, and
sure.
I think it's a mixture of it's gonna be two really weird vocalists mixed together. But for me, I get the mix of Geddy Lee and Miles Kennedy.
I can see that.
With the Miles Kennedy with the absolute raw power behind his voice, and Geddy Lee with that ability to hit those higher notes and have a little bit of a higher pitched voice.
Though I've not heard many people with his control on the falsetto, because when I think
his pitch control is fantastic.
When I think
his
of some,
intonation is fantastic. There's not a wasted breath, not a wasted note. It's like I said, if you've never listened to this man before, this is gonna be the first thing that sticks out to you.
Yeah. There are some parts where, like Leashes or The Way of Disaster, where he uses the control of that falsetto just beautifully, something that it just sticks out so well. And there are some songs that are not great, but because of his falsetto, because of his harmonies, makes it so much more interesting to listen to.
Or like on a song like Illuminate, where the melody is it's droney, puts you into a trance, and his power comes out. Not just the falsetto, but the power behind that falsetto just hits you in the face, and you just go into this trance, like say, you just listen to his voice and the underlying tones. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
Oh, God. Going through that, we also have just the lyrics in general. They're not the best lyrics that I've heard, but I love that because of this, because of the feel of every one of these songs, it has the ability to have more free-flowing lines rather than like this set, like, da-da-da-da-da-da, repetition of words. It's very much like he's saying a poem, or saying, like, doing some free form poetry through this music, and that makes up for the lack of lyrical complexity.
I can agree with that. They've never been a band that's gonna blow you away with their lyrical content. It just same with the Congregation. It just never has. That's not the main draw of the band. I mean, for some people who are in the progressive metal scene, yes, the lyrics do hold a lot of weight because, I mean, most progressive metal albums do tell a story. They have an overarching theme. But like I said, this album in particular is mostly focused on Einright's voice. I know I keep coming back to it, but that is the one thing that sticks out because, like I said, the music, it's not that technical. It's not like the Congregation where you had so many weird time signature changes throughout even one song that your mind's trying to catch up. It's a very minimalist album.
Right. You know? I agree with that, the idea of technical, because one thing that stood out to me is there's no guitar solos at all throughout this album. But whether or not huge technical, they bring in some really interesting rhythmic ideas.
Yes.
Like, going back to Illuminate, the way that they do the guitar and the bass line sometimes on some of these songs, it almost feels like it's going to be a completely different time signature, but if you just listen to the beat, it's actually just 4/4. It's just the way that they're doing their 16th notes and their 32nd notes that make it sound like they're spanning this. There are some songs that do have that time difference. Mirage.
Okay.
Mirage
See, for me, Mirage was kind of lackluster.
But in terms of time signature, it is, I believe I counted it right, it's actually in 1716, which is a really, really interesting time signature that almost melds to that 4/4, and that's what I'm talking about, where it borders the line of common time, yet also you can hear where it departs from that. Though I still can't get From the Flames. I still don't really get the time signature.
That one's different. That was their first single that got released, and it came with a little bit of backlash from some of the longtime fans, because I know I haven't really dig deep into their 2 albums, but Bilateral and Coal were definitely a lot more extreme. And the one thing he says, no guitar solos. There's no harsh vocals in this album either. If there is, I may have missed it. On the Congregation, they're littered throughout it. So, I mean, like I said, this album is a change of pace for any Leprous fan. It's like a metal onion. You have to peel back the layers to really understand, every little detail, because they throw things in that you're going to miss the first time around.
Oh yeah,
very easily. You're going to pick up on these time shifts, and you're like, oh, I didn't hear that the first time I heard the album. It takes multiple listens to really understand what this album is.
Yep, and that's what I love about it, is that you can listen to this over and over again. It gives you a reason to listen to it over and over again. Down to the tiny details of the rhythmic, or just listening to the drums, which are
fantastic. Fantastic.
The drums on song Malina itself, just the timpani kind of sound, and just that makes a really weird and unorthodox song so interesting.
I think the place that really stands out is the second track, Stuck. Stuck is probably my favorite song on the album. Einhardt's vocals are, I think, at their best on this album. On that song, he sets the mood. It's a slow burn, and when it picks up with his vocal range, the drums come in, and it is lights out fantastic.
What are your top 3? So Stuck is 1 for you.
Stuck is 1. I really like Illuminate. I have been lately getting in. I know I'm the metal guy, but I've been getting into a little bit of EDM and trance lately. So that trancey aspect to it really appealed to me, and so I would have to say that. I would have to say Stuck, Illuminate, and I like From the Flame. I'm gonna be completely honest. It's the song I've heard the most. It's the most exposure I had, and I still love it. There's something about it I keep coming back to. I couldn't put my finger on it, but it was just such a culture shock for me from going from Congregation to that I listened to it so many times to really try to see if I really liked it, and then throughout those times I just grew to absolutely adore the song. Absolutely.
I will say that From the Flame is probably a great way of trying to get someone new into this band. That's what you did for me.
Yes.
And because that is the most approachable song on
it is the most mainstream.
Right.
Easily.
That will help you get into this.
Not saying mainstream is a bad thing for metal. It just means it's the most accessible song.
Right. It's your gateway into this. My 3, I love Captive. Captive is really good. Has such a cool feel to it. And that's another one where it feels like it's in a different time signature, but if you just count it, it's still in 4/4, which is so interesting.
That song has a really cool atmosphere to it.
Yeah.
It's hard to describe. It feels almost it sets the name of the song kind of fits how the song makes you feel.
It almost has this Dillinger Escape Plan-esque feel.
Little mathcore in there.
Yeah. I would say there's a lot of that feel on there. So if you
chaotic.
For this
it's
album,
controlled chaos is the way you want to put it.
Well, yeah, if you want to better describe this band to someone, I say it's Dillinger Escape Plan, at least for this CD, without the screams.
I can see that. This album definitely fits that mold. But if you're going to try to get into this album and go backwards, it's not going to go well for you. It's really not, because the shift between Congregation and this album it's ginormous.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely ginormous. And, I mean, Coal and Bilateral, they have the same kind of feel. Congregation, you did step a little bit out of their shadow because they dialed back a lot of the screams, even though there's quite a bit in the Congregation. And Einhardt has an amazing growl, just so you all know. It was a shift for fans from them. But if, like I said, if you're going to go backwards, I wouldn't. I'd start at the beginning. That's just me.
So my favorite, my three were Captive, Bonneville. Set this CD up so well for me.
That song took so long to grow on me. I did not like it the first time I heard it. It made me almost shut off the album, to be completely honest.
I will say it was like, what the hell is this? This doesn't feel like... I was not expecting that song at the beginning of the CD.
You were someone who didn't listen to Congregation much as I did. Right. When I first turned it on, I was like, no. But not for me.
It's a very powerful song that just builds well. I love the feel of the guitars with the bass line and it's basically guitar overtones when they have those high stuff. Yeah. But also it builds well. The harmonies are awesome. I love singing that song.
As you can see, he's the music nerd in the family, not me. I just listen to metal.
Yeah. So be it. Whatever. And then my third actually is Mirage. I really like... It's another one where I really like the harmonies on there. Just the chord progressions, the harmonies, everything like that works so well for me. I will say the ending is a little bit weird, but all in all, that is another one of my favorite ones just by feel.
I will say this album, the first third, is really good. If you can get past Bonneville, not just me. It took me a while. It's going to take you a little while. Mm-hmm. The middle part of the album kind of runs a little together for my liking. I don't feel as engaged when I listen to that middle part. Mm-hmm. It just feels like it all blends. Like I could I could look at the names like, oh, I could put this name with this song or this name with this song, and I wouldn't know the difference. But the last third of it kills. They pick up the pace again, and they close with a fury. So actually, that's a good jumping off point to talk about some negatives or some cons. Like my brother said, it is very conventional, if you want to go with that, from Bonneville up to Mirage. Then you get to Malina, and the last half... The title track. It's okay.
Beautiful. It's okay. Beautiful, it's powerful, but it's not great.
It doesn't stand out to me.
But once you get Malina, and then you have Coma, The Weight of Disaster, and Last Milestone, all those are very more experimental.
Mm-hmm. That's where the extreme metal aspect of this band comes in.
Right. Very artsy, and that's where it might throw some people off, but I would say if you get to that point, just power through it, because The Last Milestone is an incredible song.
It's... For an album, you always want to have a really awesome opening track and a really great closing track. Those bookend tracks are very important when you're trying to differentiate a good album from a bad album. Again, like I keep coming back to, I know I sound like a broken record, but Bonneville, it took a while for me to enjoy. I still don't love it, but The Last Milestone for a closing track is absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. The experimentation is fantastic. Iron's vocals, great. And the actual sound and feel of the song picks up. It doesn't feel like it's minimalist. They definitely took some risks with the song. It's nothing like that's in their catalog. But I think they hit a home run with it.
It was another song where it's like, where the hell is this coming from? But it's just so cool, again, with harmony, just the way that it's all so, like, out of time, where the violins and the orchestra are playing completely out of time with the vocals, that you get these moments where one note might match up with this, and it makes a completely tense moment. And then as you switch one line, it creates this harmony that's more constant, more whole. And it just, the way that these instruments go back and forth with each other is a very powerful moment.
And I'm a sucker for any violin in metal. My favorite metal band going right now, Diva Los Scars, has violins in their metal, and it's incredible. So when people tell you that classical instruments don't belong in metal, they're wrong.
Right. So, any other downsides for you?
Yeah, I wish it was a little heavier. I'll be completely honest. I know I love metal and I love progressive metal. My go-to genre has always been progressive death metal, and I like the death metal elements to my progressive metal, and that's just, it's personal preference. It's not, I mean, some people will really like this minimalist approach. I do like it a lot, but at the same time, I want my screams back. I want some guitar solos. I want some really heavy, dense moments. This album's it's dense, but not in the way you think of it being dense. If you understand what I'm trying to say.
I get you. I have never been a huge fan of screaming vocals. So I enjoyed different particular parts of metal, but I would say that going through it the first time and then the second time, I was like, I didn't miss not having a guitar solo in there. I think each of these songs were created with particular intents in mind, and they each create their own beautiful picture in general in certain ways.
Yeah, like this album, like it's not the guitar solo is missing from it, doesn't affect it at all. But again, for some people, it's just personal preference, what kind of metal you go to, and everyone knows metalheads are elitist. You know, we're picky as fuck. So I mean, one genre for a metal fan will not, the other fan will be like, no, get out of here. I don't like that stuff.
So for me personally, last year it was my third favorite album of the year. Where would you have put yours for 2017?
2017. Well, my winner last year. Surprise, surprise, Nebula of Scars. Iron. Listen to it if you haven't. Shameless plug. Where would it have ranked? Borderline top 10. There was really a lot of good metal that came out last year. If I had to really sit down, it would probably be like 9, between 9 and 12. There was just a lot of metal that came out last year that was more experimental. Definitely had a little more bite to it. But if you want to talk about vocal performance, this album wins based on that alone.
Yep, I agree with that. So we're going to now recommend it to people. I would say let's try to break it down for metal.
For people, okay.
For metal, and then for just regular people in general.
All right. You want to start with regular people?
So I would say let's start with metal.
Okay.
If you're a metal fan, would you listen to this? Or progressive metal?
Progressive metal, yes. Metal fan, I would recommend it to any metal fan, but then again, you're going to get those death fans and those black metal fans like, get this nonsense out of here, because it's not black metal, it's not cold, it's not dreary, it's not heavy enough for them, they don't have the shrieks in there.
Right.
It's not going to be for every metal fan. Even some of the Leprous fans are still divided on this album. You know, a lot of people. In all fairness to Leprous, it was really hard to follow up the Congregation because it got critical acclaim. It was their first album to really get recognized by the mainstream public, and to come out with something like this, it took a lot of balls. I'll be the first to admit it takes a lot of balls and it takes a lot of self-confidence to release an album like this after a masterpiece in the Congregation.
So do you keep bringing up Congregation?
I do.
Would you say
I'm sorry.
that Congregation is better than this one?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
I would. There's one song on the album that I don't want to ruin for people, but it's their best song in their catalog, and it's really not close. Nothing on Malina even comes close to this song, in my opinion. Unfortunately. And all these songs are great, but this song, I would say about this album, the best songs of this album would probably be maybe top 5 on the Congregation, maybe. Because I know you really like one song in particular on the Congregation, and do you think any of the songs in Malina are better than that song?
Yes, actually.
Really?
Well, so I need to listen to Congregation again, and this is actually going to make me to listen to it again, because maybe down the line I'll say Congregation's better. I love just the ideas that were on this. Are they all great? Not all of them. Are they all interesting? Yes. There's not a song on there that I would say this is dull. I need to fast forward through this. Even like on songs that I don't think are great by any standard. Like I don't like The Weight of Disaster that much. Or Coma. But Coma is quick enough, and Weight of Disaster has some interesting parts in there that's like, okay, I've never thought of this in the sense of progressive music. So I would say for anyone in progressive metal, definitely take a look at it. Metal, I would recommend it. Just know that there are no guitar solos. That this is very, very experimental in a lot of senses. And
very minimal.
If you can open your mind to that, then definitely take a look. Now, for regular people,
it's definitely not going to be for everybody.
Would you tell people, hey, you need to try to listen to
this?
I
would give them, if they want to get into metal, this would be a good spot to kind of dive in. But then again, a lot of people, they like the top 40 hits. And a lot of this is not top 40 hits. No. Some people will really like it based on Iron's vocals, and that's perfect. That's the draw of this album. is his vocal range, and some people really like the atmosphere it creates for them. But do I see a lot of people from the mainstream diving on this album? No, I don't. Unfortunately,
so
even with my recommendation, I don't see a lot of people diving into this album.
Let me rephrase this: is this an album that everyone should listen to at least once? Because I think it is.
I'm gonna say no. Unfortunately, I don't think it's an album everyone needs to hear. If I'm gonna rank it in their catalog, it's their worst so far.
I mean, out of 2.
Out of 4.
Well, have you...
I've done enough research on Lateral and Cole from a lot of the fans. Again, this is just me doing my research. I haven't listened to it yet. But that Lateral and Cole are better still.
That's interesting.
I can't, like I said, I just said that, but I don't have any proof to really back it up. But knowing me and knowing what Cole and Malina have on them, I'm probably going to like them more than Malina, just based on the heaviness alone.
I guess my argument for saying yes, this is a CD that everyone should listen to once, is because there aren't a lot of CDs like this out there. And if I'm like, would you rather listen to X that has been done kind of similarly to everybody else, or Y, which you don't hear a lot of that out there? I would say go with Y at least once. And yes, listen to these other albums that might be better, but...
I mean, when you put it that way, when I think of a must listen, I think of it needing to be like a masterpiece, and I just don't think this album's a masterpiece. It's not essential listening.
All right.
There's a lot of, in all fairness, it's a very good progressive metal album, but there's 50 others that are better, in my book, that I've heard in the last 4 years.
That's fair. And again, 2017 wasn't the strongest years for music.
It wasn't even the strongest year for progressive metal in general.
Right.
I mean, in a normal year where you have like bands like Dream Theater and Arion.
I mean, Hawken was great last year.
It's actually pronounced Tankin, apparently. Or whatever, I don't know. Never mind. But,
sorry,
or like
metal
Anathema,
nerds.
or bands like Symphony X or Camelot, which are like more power progressive but still have those progressive elements. Would it be a top 10 album with those progressive metal albums? Probably not. No. For me, essential listening means a masterpiece, and this is not a masterpiece to me.
That's fair. All right. Well,
do you want to give it a number rating?
I don't do number ratings.
You don't do a number rating. Interesting.
I think the idea, and actually this is a good way of bringing this up. It's kind of hard to be like, okay, this is a 9 out of 10, but is this 9 out of 10 better than this 9 out of 10? Is this one worse than this 9 out of 10?
Okay.
So I personally try to go with just the recommendations of who do I recommend this to.
Because I know a lot of fans out there love the number system. They love it.
I mean, if I was to give it a number, I would probably go a very solid 8 out of 10. Maybe low 9, because
so like an 8.75, maybe a 9.1.
Something like that. I would say probably close. It's probably closer to 9 than the.
It's like an 8.75.
Yeah, something like that.
See, I mean, my number would be probably like an 8.25. It's up along those lines. I mean, and that to me, just like I said, doesn't constitute essential listen.
But then again, is this 8.25 better than this 8.25?
Exactly. I mean,
it's like.
I mean,
I don't. That's why I don't like.
Well, because you do cross genres,
right?
And if you're doing just metal genres, a number system works perfectly because it's just, is this metal album better than this metal album? You know.
That's fair. I also just believe it's in general everyone's taste. But again, that's our first collab, and we do have a couple more in the future. We do. Stored.
Maybe more if I get to listen to some more metal. Hopefully that'd be good.
Oh, I mean, I'm always looking for more.
Some progressive death metal.
Sure. I'm always looking for more, but until then, if you do like this, please, again, like this video, comment on what other albums you like us to talk about. Maybe even some top 10 ideas. I've always thrown around the idea of a top 10 progressive albums of all time.
Okay, or like an essential starter kit for progressive metal, something like that.
Subscribe to this channel. It does a lot to help out so that I can continue these videos. And, share it with your friends and look out for the next Are You In? Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed our deep dive into Malina. I really like talking about music with my brother, as you can see, and we both really enjoy metal. So as you can see, we can definitely get into a deep conversation with this. But I do hope you enjoyed it, like I said, and I hope you would like to see more videos with my brother involved. Of course, I'm not going to ask you to do all the things I've already said in the previous part of this video, but I will let you know that there has been a little change in the plan for this week. I was planning on doing 3 album reviews with him for Metal CDs of 2018, but unfortunately our schedules conflict a little bit this week. So instead, I'm putting this one up, and I will do another cover song on Friday, and then an album review on Sunday with him. You're gonna really like it, I hope. It's a band that we both really like. I actually just got back from recording that, and I just have to edit it and everything like that. But it will be ready for Sunday, hopefully. And then hopefully next week I'll be able to talk about a couple of the other albums that I was planning on reviewing with him. And who knows, I might still be able to do that next week. But that's it for at least now. Just one quick question that I would like to throw out. And I already know this thing's running late, but I want to touch on something that was brought up at the end of the video, and I was curious to see what you guys think. I don't really like doing the number system, as I already stated, but I also do understand that it might help people out in terms of knowing whether or not to actually purchase or look at a CD. So I am curious, and I would love to hear your opinion on it. Do you want some sort of number system with what I'm talking about? I will still do the who am I recommending it to at what time, but if we also want a number system involved, I can do that as well. I'll have to think of what exactly I wanted to entail, because I don't really want to do it out of 10. I would probably do a multi-tiered thing where I would like base it off of certain points for lyrics, certain points for music, certain points for originality, if that helps. But that is up to you guys. So feel free to let me know in the comments if that is something that you were looking for. So again, thank you so much for watching this, and stay tuned for Friday for another cover song. Peace.